around through uncommon conversations. Politics, religion, finances, all the topics your grandmother told you not to discuss with friends. And now, your host, Matthew Dowling, and today's guests on Commonalities.
Thank you for joining another episode of Commonalities. I'm your host, Matt Dowling, alongside a friend of mine, Secretary Russell Redding, who is Secretary of Agriculture for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Secretary Redding, thank you so much for joining us here today. I know you've worked in several different governors' administrations. So at the top of the show, I wanted to kind of give you the opportunity to do a little bit of a bio or self-introduction and tell us how Russell Redding became the Secretary of Agriculture for the Commonwealth.
Yeah, Matt, first of all, it's good to see you and Happy New Year to you. And thank you for reaching out. It's good to see you again. So it's been an interesting journey. So I feel very lucky to have my vocation, that vocation be the same, and to do that in a public service role, particularly. It started with a chance encounter of a U.S. Senator, Harris Wofford, that got my start in public service. And from there, of course, the journey to elections and ultimately coming back to work for Tom Ridge, who was governor. And that's where I started, worked through the Ridge administration and Rendell, left a while to be in higher education as the Dean of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, and then came back with Governor Tom Wolf most recently. But through that whole journey of public service has always been sort of a common foundation around production agriculture in Adams County. Our roots are there. That's where we've been. We continue to farm in that county. So I feel like I've got both a foot in the farmer world, right, and that of the public service role here as secretary. But both are very rewarding.
Well, I thank you so much for being on the show. I wanted to have you on this week, not because agriculture is not important year-round. It is. But because we are in the midst of Farm Show Week. The Farm Show started on January 7th and runs through the 14th. This is the 107th Farm Show. And I know you have a theme that you're working with, as you do most years, for the Farm Show. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this year's Farm Show theme?
Yeah, thank you. Our theme this year is Rooted in Progress. We felt it was a good sort of capstone to 8 years of the administration, but it's also a great description of the industry, right? It's rooted here in PA. It's important to us across time. It is centuries old. And today we've seen the progress of that by being able to celebrate it here in the state. It's $132 billion economic impact every year. 18% of our state's gross state product is food and agriculture. So rooted, but those roots have really nourished our progress across time. So we wanted to celebrate that and try to represent both what we have done in the administration to further that progress. At the same time, know that we're not representing simply a 4 or 8 year term, but 107 years, right? Plus. So that is also part of this. So we're rooted in so many ways: innovation, progress, the food system, the legacy work that's been done over time. Our mission is rooted here in the state as well. So many ways. So we feel like the theme is a good description of time, but it also transcends time. And that is a really a great storyline for us this week. And we've seen a lot of it through just in the setup to see what that's going to look like. But we're excited. It's a great time.
Well, I'm really excited too. I've been to the Farm Show as I've been able to for the last 7 years or so. Last year, unfortunately, I was in the hospital and unable to make it. And then we had, at no fault of anyone's, a pandemic that you had to deal with. And we had a virtual farm show in 2021. So I know that things are just kind of blooming and growing back to the pre-COVID era. So I'm really excited to see that. I'm excited also for the farm show milkshakes and those fried cheese. Of course, my wife and my kids and I will be up later this week to partake in all of that. So why don't you tell me what you're excited about during this year's farm show?
Well, I share your appetite for good things in the food court. It's the go-to, right? You can satisfy everyone's sort of palate and stomach and interest in the food. But we hope while you're here and others, I mean, you really look around at just the diversity of ag. But personally excited about a couple of things. One is I always like the conservation display, and we started that some years ago, as you recall, when we had a lot of issues swirling around about land use in Pennsylvania. We had issues in townships with ordinances and restrictions in place. And so we really ought to sort of tell a story about what land use is, what it looks like, right? What do the modern agriculture look like? So all of that's captured in this conservation pod now that shows the land cover across that most consumers and public would see across the state. It shows the equipment. There is a rainfall simulator to show what happens when you have cover on fields during winter or not, and what that looks like in terms of runoff. So that's one. The other is around sunflowers. This is a product of both market opportunities. It's a recognition that half of the sunflower oil comes out of Ukraine. Right, so you've seen this world supply disrupted. We've got them here. We're growing them here in Pennsylvania. Want to grow that market in PA. So I could go through that list, but they're just two highlights that I think sort of stand out that are universal, regardless of where you are in the state. It's about conservation, and it's also about looking at progress of how do you develop new markets? How do you entice farmers to try growing a new crop? How does it translate in terms of economics for our farm? So there are two that I think are good bookends to the other displays at Farm Show.
Well, and I have to tell you, I was very inspired by some of the conservation pieces that I saw. I believe it was 4-H several years ago had done some setups where they were looking at harvesting water in urban settings. And several years ago, inspired by the hunger garden that is at the Capitol, I put a hunger garden in at what was my district office in the parking lot, and it was a small 10 by 15 parcel with the building sign was right at the edge of that. But we gardened for those that were in need right in that urban garden. And just last year, the facility we worked with our local technical school, and the facility added a rain collection system. I call it a wing because it sits on top of the sign, and 2 rain barrels. And so all of the water that's needed is harvested right from the 2 50-gallon rain barrels that sit on either side of the sign. And there are plants on it, and you would never even know that it was harvesting water. But I was inspired by seeing what our young people were trying to create and envisioning for the future of Pennsylvania. I think the farm show is so important because of the opportunities that it affords to our future farmers of America, to our young people. So can you tell me a little bit about how you interact with the youth at the farm show?
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, because I think we can all sort of look at sort of the work that we've done in our respective public service and the hosting of farm show. But at the end of the day, it's about inspiring somebody to sort of get into this business, right? And the business could be in the production agriculture, or it could be in somewhere in the food service or the sciences or whatever. That's the generation that we're trying to appeal to. And I hope that over the 8 days, somebody sees something here. Mom and dad see something that kids should be interested in, but hopefully the kids see it themselves. That they see, opportunity in the hardwoods industry, or so you want to be a farmer. It's about the roots and plants and genetics. That's all here. So we try to build a lot of those exhibits into this farm show. You'll see it in our 4-H exhibits. We've got FFA here early in the week with from all over the state talking about their future of ag. I try to interact with all of the commodity representatives who are spending a year of their lives representing their particular interests. It could be in the grains or the FFA or the apples or the honey. I think all of those are incredibly important to our culture, but also the advocacy for those particular commodities, so interacting with them. And then throughout the week, we do a lot of work, as you know. The sales in the farm show support scholarships. The sale of the champions of some of the market animals go into scholarships. There's a lot of scholarship and youth activity that are part of the celebration of ag this week, but I think extend throughout the year, where we connect our fairs to our farm shows, right? We connect our youth in 4-H and the family living area into what we're doing. So many places they intersect, but it's a common sort of thread across the week of recognizing the future generation that needs to step in. We want them and desperately need them to be part of agriculture in the years to come.
Well, I do think that's so important that the emphasis is on the future of farming in Pennsylvania, because we need people to keep putting food on our tables, and agriculture is such a large industry here within the Commonwealth. Secretary, we have to get to our first break. We'll be back in just a moment here on Commonalities, talking Farm Show with Secretary Russell Redding.
You're listening to Commonalities, where guests find common ground through uncommon conversations. We'll be back after this brief break to recognize our sponsors.
Is your business using analog strategies in a digital marketing world? If so, then contact Matthew or Rebecca Dowling at Coordinated 360 for a professional consultation, where we bring in-depth knowledge and functional expertise with a holistic perspective. Coordinated 360 provides digital marketing, paid ad and media buying services, web design, social media management, video production, and more for businesses, organizations, and political campaigns. With decades of experience, Matt and Becky at Coordinated 360 can help you craft your unique message and share it with the world. For a no-risk media evaluation and recommendations, call 724-320-2212 or visit us online at www.coordinated360.com. Find us also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or email info@coordinated360.com.
Founded in 1991, Bright Stripe has succeeded on the premises of quality work, done right at an affordable cost. At Bright Stripe, personal service has always been a must. We strive to be the premier asphalt sealing and striping company in the region. Matt George, the owner of Bright Stripe LLC, brings experience from his construction and maintenance company, Mountain Creek Construction and Maintenance. Matt has provided excellent customer service to many happy businesses and homeowners. Bright Stripe is the premier provider of seal coating, or pavement sealing, the process of applying a protective coating to asphalt-based pavements to provide a layer of protection from the elements, water, oils, and UV damage. They also specialize in driveway and parking lot crack sealing. Crack sealing is the process of applying a protective coating to asphalt-based pavements. Bright Stripe also abides by all safety laws and standards in line striping and layout. For a no-obligation estimate, contact Bright Stripe at 724-437-6090.
When it comes to buying a home, what you see isn't exactly what you get. That's why home buyers should call Dave Dowling at Grandview Inspections at 724-208-4108. You'll see colorful flowers, freshly painted walls, granite countertops, gleaming hardwood floors, and other touches. What you can't see is the cracks, ancient plumbing, dangerous wiring, or broken appliances that might be revealed when you hire a home inspector. And when it comes to home inspectors, knowing yours has the qualifications and experience needed should be your number one concern. Dave Dowling with Grandview Inspections is an architectural engineer with over 30 years of commercial construction experience and hundreds of inspections under his belt. A home inspection is an opportunity for you to hire an expert to walk through the home and prepare a report outlining the home's major components, what needs immediate attention, and what will require maintenance after you move in. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so make sure your investment is everything you hoped it to be. Call Dave Dowling at Grandview Inspections at 724-208-4108.
Are you enjoying the program you're listening to? Support Commonalities and help keep us on the air by making a donation of $5, $10, or $25, or any amount you feel comfortable sharing online at donate.commonalities.online. Again, that is donate.commonalities.online on the World Wide Web. Buy our host a cup of coffee or help pay for airtime at donate.commonalities.online.
Thanks for staying with us here on Commonalities. I'm your host, Matt Dowling, on WMBS 590 AM, 101.1 FM, and every place you download your favorite podcast. My guest today is Secretary of Agriculture Russell Redding, Secretary of Agriculture for the Commonwealth. Secretary Redding, it's so great to have you with me. We were talking farm show before we went to the break. And one of my favorite things to look at and to witness and experience at the farm show, aside from all the kids that are showing livestock and et cetera, is the butter sculpture. And I know the butter sculpture was revealed last week. Can you tell me a little bit about that sculpture and what it means to the farm show?
Well, it's the 32nd year. We started that in 1991 as a way to recognize the dairy industry and to sort of rally the interest of the public and it's sort of the unofficial opening of the farm show. So we're always excited to do it. It's a great partnership with the dairy industry. There are 5,200 dairy farms in Pennsylvania. All of them are contributors to the Dairy Association that supports the sculpture. So we start back in August and brainstorm what the theme is and hand that over to some folks who try to translate the words to the theme. And this year we have this beautiful butter sculpture that captures, I think, pretty well all of that roots of progress. It's the forest products industry represented by the tree. You've got a young family with kids that talk about the bridge of generations. We've got a wonderful, animal with a young calf that symbolizes, that's the future it's the next generation of dairy cows, et cetera. So that when you look at it, it's got this nice sort of balance between young and old, between forest and crops. It has the landscape, if you will, of Pennsylvania. So when you look at it, it says Pennsylvania to me. It clearly says dairy by way of the butter and the product it's made out of, but it's also when you see the individual pieces of that make up the sculpture. It clearly represents very well the dairy industry here in the state of Pennsylvania. So it's unveiled, it's a key part, it's a marquee, it's the north on the compass, if you will, of Farm Show Complex. If you can get to the butter sculpture, you can be guided anywhere because you'll know where you are in 1 million square feet of classroom.
So we're talking about the butter sculpture, and if you're viewing this episode on Facebook or YouTube, where you can see the video, you've seen some pictures on the screen. If you're listening on the radio, visit my Facebook page at Facebook/Matthew Dowling Public, and I have some pictures courtesy of Penn Live that are up there of this year's butter sculpture. It is amazing. It just impresses me that something of that magnitude can be sculpted every year. And maybe a silly question, but Secretary, what happens to that butter after the farm show? Do you bake a lot of bread, or what happens?
Yeah. So several years ago, we worked with a local dairy farmer who's got a methane digester. And that digester accepts this butter as it does other farm waste or food waste, and it gets turned into energy. right? So it does not go to waste. It does not go to a landfill. It gets turned right back into energy. So I think it's a great story, completing that cycle, right? Started on the farm, goes back to the farm to produce energy. So that'll happen on the day after Farm Show. That butter's becoming energy to power our lights.
Well, and that goes back to that important piece of conservation that we discussed earlier in the episode. Now, as I talk to people, and as a state representative, I would travel out to the farm show with my family and had a fantastic time. I'm about 3.5 hours away from Harrisburg, so it's a little bit of a hike. And I guess I could say those who know about the farm show, but those who don't. Who should attend the farm show? It's not just people that are raising livestock. I think every Pennsylvanian could find something for them at the farm show. So I don't know if you could speak to that a little bit about who the farm show's open to.
Yeah, the farm show is a public show, right? It is a Pennsylvania show. We as a department are simply honored to host it, but it is a state-sponsored show. And I always underscore that because it's not something that is sponsored by PDA as a department. It isn't 1 year. It's not a governor, right? It has been around for 107 years and is a state-sponsored show. And that means it's owned by the state. It's everybody who is here in the state, I think, has appreciation, some more than others in terms of what agriculture is and where it touches our lives. But I would hope that those who are, just curious about our food system would come in and look and walk and taste the farm show and learn. If you're interested in preservation and conservation, to come in. If you're interested in wildlife, right? We talk about pollinators and the bees and the butterflies. All of that is here. Or if you just sort of want to talk about equipment and look at you're a home owner and you want to have expand a garden or have a garden. There's an opportunity to say, hey, maybe you want to be a farmer. There's so many things inside of the farm show complex that I would be hard pressed to say that there's not something there that touches the interest of every single resident of Pennsylvania, right? Maybe it's food at the end of the day. It could be conservation. It could be the natural resources and invasive species and all of that. That's the beauty of Farm Show, that I think it's evolved from a time when it was all about the farm and farmer coming to Harrisburg to sort of look at the latest. This industry is sophisticated. It's grown so much in the last years that today it has the same dynamics of other parts of our economy. A lot of it's online. A lot of it is, through what we've experienced through COVID, people buying online. But what we find is that people want that relationship with who's feeding them, right? So if you want that relationship, come to the farm show.
And, the farm show complex, you mentioned it a couple times, is really kind of an amazing complex or building as it is on its own. And it's used for other purposes throughout the year. But of course, we refer to it as the farm show complex. I will probably get this statistic wrong and you can correct me, but if I'm right, it is the largest indoor agricultural event in North America. Is that correct? Is that a statistic that's true?
That's true. Yeah, you've got it. Great memory. Right. It's 1 million square feet under roof. There are a lot of other places with open spaces, with show rings and fairgrounds that are larger by footprint, but not under roof. So we've got 24 acres that are under roof here in Harrisburg. So and the other interesting piece, you probably know this, but back during World War II, that complex was used, as the Pennsylvania State School of Aeronautics. And it was used to repair by the Army Air Corps, the planes that were damaged in World War II. So there's only been 2 years when there's not been a in-person farm show, 1943 and 2021. And one of those through a war, the other through a pandemic. So we're celebrating its 80th anniversary this year of the complex being used during World War II. It's a nice story. Both our military and history and our veteran story during the complex. So all of that's inside that storied complex. We host it for 8 days, but it's used throughout the year for 300 other shows that take place here at the Farm Show.
Sure. Now, before we wrap up the interview today, I wanted to ask you a question that's not directly tied to Farm Show, but as we're looking ahead, we're in a new legislative session, the 23-24 legislative session. I wanted to ask you, what were some legislative priorities that are dealing with agriculture that you see on the forefront or the horizon of being voted on, perhaps in the Pennsylvania House or Senate? What can we do as Pennsylvanians to support our agrarian industry that's here? So what are some of those legislative bullet points that you would say we'll be looking at over the next 2 years?
Yeah, I would say one that touches rural and urban spaces is dog law, and just to say that we were so close to having that done, but anybody who has a dog in Pennsylvania is required to be licensed. That came out of the legislature of 1896, I think it was, so a long time. But the point is that there are more than 1 million dogs in PA that have to be licensed, and we all know if you want to get them back, you need to have some identification on them. We wanted to increase the license fee. That fee goes directly to support our staff in the field and oversight of kennels, where a lot of these dogs are born and reared. We want to make sure that they're safe and healthy. So that's one we just hope to get done. That's been a 7 or 8 year run for PA. We have milk. We've made some progress on milk with sale dates and where it appears, but there's also a very important dairy piece of that for the Milk Marketing Board here in the state of Pennsylvania. We're one of 5 states with any state pricing authority. Got a piece of legislation we're working on. The fertilizer component, we made a little progress in the last year in the session, but there's another chapter to fertilizer, and that means the commercial fertilizer being applied to lands in PA, not just in agriculture, but urban centers because of water quality. And that has been supported. We made a lot of progress, but again, we've got to come back to that, try to finish that task here in this session.
Sure. So a lot of work that needs to be done to support one of the largest industries here in Pennsylvania. Secretary Redding, I want to thank you for taking the time out to be with me and with my listeners today. Again, we want to remind everyone that the 107th Farm Show with the theme Rooted in Progress started on January 7th, runs through the 14th. It's only a 3-hour drive from the Uniontown area, although I have listeners all over the Commonwealth. I would encourage you all to stop at the Farm Show and say hi to my guest, Secretary Redding, if you happen to bump into him in the halls there. Thanks so much, Secretary.
Pleasure's mine. Thank you. It's great.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
You're listening to Commonalities, where guests find common ground through uncommon conversations. We'll be back after this brief break to recognize our sponsors.
Is your business using analog strategies in a digital marketing world? If so, then contact Matthew or Rebecca Dowling at Coordinated 360 for a professional consultation, where we bring in-depth knowledge and functional expertise with a holistic perspective. Coordinated 360 provides digital marketing, paid ad and media buying services, web design, social media management, video production, and more for businesses, organizations, and political campaigns. With decades of experience, Matt and Becky at Coordinated 360 can help you craft your unique message and share it with the world. For a no-risk media evaluation and recommendations, call 724-320-2212 or visit us online at www.coordinated360.com. Find us also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or email info@coordinated360.com.
Founded in 1991, Bright Stripe has succeeded on the premises of quality work, done right at an affordable cost. At Bright Stripe, personal service has always been a must. We strive to be the premier asphalt sealing and striping company in the region. Matt George, the owner of Bright Stripe LLC, brings experience from his construction and maintenance company, Mountain Creek Construction and Maintenance. Matt has provided excellent customer service to many happy businesses and homeowners. Bright Stripe is the premier provider of seal coating, or pavement sealing, the process of applying a protective coating to asphalt-based pavements to provide a layer of protection from the elements, water, oils, and UV damage. They also specialize in driveway and parking lot crack sealing. Crack sealing is the process of applying a protective coating to asphalt-based pavements. Bright Stripe also abides by all safety laws and standards in line striping and layout. For a no-obligation estimate, contact Bright Stripe at 724-437-6090.
When it comes to buying a home, what you see isn't exactly what you get. That's why home buyers should call Dave Dowling at Grandview Inspections at 724-208-4108. You'll see colorful flowers, freshly painted walls, granite countertops, gleaming hardwood floors, and other touches. What you can't see is the cracks, ancient plumbing, dangerous wiring, or broken appliances that might be revealed when you hire a home inspector. And when it comes to home inspectors, knowing yours has the qualifications and experience needed should be your number one concern. Dave Dowling with Grandview Inspections is an architectural engineer with over 30 years of commercial construction experience and hundreds of inspections under his belt. A home inspection is an opportunity for you to hire an expert to walk through the home and prepare a report outlining the home's major components, what needs immediate attention, and what will require maintenance after you move in. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so make sure your investment is everything you hoped it to be. Call Dave Dowling at Grandview Inspections at 724-208-4108.
Are you enjoying the program you're listening to? Support Commonalities and help keep us on the air by making a donation of $5, $10, or $25, or any amount you feel comfortable sharing online at donate.commonalities.online. Again, that is donate.commonalities.online on the World Wide Web. Buy our host a cup of coffee or help pay for airtime at donate.commonalities.online.
You're listening to Commonalities on WMBS 590 AM, 101.1 FM, and any place you download your favorite podcast. My guest earlier today was Secretary of Agriculture Russell Redding, and we talked about the 107th Farm Show, which is taking place this week in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, January 7th through the 14th. And before we sign off today, I reached into the archives and found a couple interviews I did with some amazing young people back in 2020, pre-pandemic, at the 104th PA Farm Show. Our first interview is from Tara Evans of Rockwood. Her family has been raising cattle for quite some time. We're at the 104th Pennsylvania Farm Show, and I'm with Tara here today, who is an old pro at bringing animals to the farm show and to being interviewed by our crew here, because we interviewed her a couple years ago. You have a farm outside of Rockwood, I understand.
Yes, it's my parents' farm.
And how many head of cattle do you have there?
Approximately 200 between the calves and dry cows and heifers and all that we milk.
And I noticed that you have 14 or so here that you brought to the farm show. Tell us a little bit about the animals that you brought here, what type of cows they are, and how you get them ready for the farm show.
Sure. So we got a couple different breeds. We have Ayrshire, Brown Swiss, Shorthorn, and Jerseys here. So to get them ready, a lot of the heifers we put on a little special diet a couple months beforehand, separate them to get them a little more prepared. And then the milk cows, we keep a close eye on them, making sure that they're still producing well, they're not getting any type of mastitis that we need to be of concern. And then just make sure that they're in overall good health standing to make a trip, since it's a pretty long trip and it's stressful for them. So we want to make sure they're in good health before we even do the trek.
So once you get them here, then you have to prepare them to be shown. You have to clipper them, I believe.
Yep, so we get them washed, and then we got to clip them up, get all the fuzziness off, and do some fine details of top lines, and just try to get them looking their best.
Now, when will you show these animals?
On Friday.
And you came in on?
Tuesday, yesterday. Yep.
So you're here for the majority of the week and getting these animals ready for show.
Yep.
Have you guys placed or won before with any of the animals?
We've gotten close. We've gotten a couple honorable mentions, but haven't gotten the golden ticket yet.
Big hopes for this year?
I hope so. There's one in particular I've got, I'm crossing my fingers for, but we'll see.
Now, anything you would like to maybe share with us about the agricultural industry in Pennsylvania, about farming in general?
So, unfortunately, it's something that's kind of dying away. There's a lot of farms have been lost over the last couple of years. It's not as big as it once was, but it's hard work, but it's a humbling work.
Huge and important industry, an economic driver here in Pennsylvania. So we thank you and all the farmers in Pennsylvania for what you do. And thank you for being with us here today as we interview people from the 104th Pennsylvania Farm Show. My second interview from the archives is with Hunter Holliday of Confluence, PA, where he gave a presentation in 2020 about how to field dress a white-tailed deer. We're here at the 104th Pennsylvania Farm Show in Harrisburg, PA, and I'm with Hunter, who is a resident of Confluence, PA, a student at the Career and Technical Center in Somerset County, and also a member of FFA. And at 8 o'clock this morning, he did a presentation on a number of different things, but how to dress a white-tailed deer, I believe, was the title of the presentation. So tell me a little bit about what you talked about today.
We pretty much talked about a white-tailed deer, how to field dress it, how to track it, and use all the different tools that you have to use for a white-tailed deer.
Now, on our way over here from one of the other arenas, we were having a conversation about the chronic wasting issue that we have in Pennsylvania. Tell us a little bit about that.
Chronic wasting disease, also known as CWD, really poses a big problem here in the United States, killing off really tons of deer. Really, another sign you're looking for in deer is like a really decay or warts on the deer or the inside, on the arteries or lungs or heart.
And how long has chronic wasting been a problem? What are some of the origins of the disease? Do you know?
I said probably close to about 10, 12 years now. The disease started in Nevada, I believe so.
And if you come across a deer that has CWD, what should you do?
You should turn it into the game commissioner nearest drop site for CWD.
Okay. Now, you're a member of FFA. Tell me a little bit about that program and some of the opportunities that you have through Future Farmers of America.
Okay, so I'm in the SCTC Forestry. When you join the forestry class, you're obviously in FFA. We come to the farm show every year. We have different events throughout the year, like fall skills and spring skills, and we do all kinds of contests like tractor driving, horse judging, and livestock judging.
And who would be some students that would be interested in being in that forestry class?
Say you want to be a game warden or DCNR or fish commission, that'd be a great place, or work for a state park, that'd be a great place to go.
Well, Hunter, I want to thank you so much for telling us a little bit about FFA, a little bit about chronic wasting, and for joining us here at the 104th Pennsylvania Farm Show. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you too.
And the final bit of archival footage and audio is an interview with Mackenzie Glass. Mackenzie is a member of FFA. We're celebrating agriculture here at the 104th Pennsylvania Farm Show, and joining me right now is Mackenzie Glass. And Mackenzie, you were a Myersdale student from Myersdale High School, but you're also the state chaplain for the FFA program, Future Farmers of America. Tell me a little bit about FFA.
So FFA started in 1928, and it was started by three 33 farmers that were around the world, and it has evolved to so much more than just farming. So in 1988, it was changed from Future Farmers of America to the National FFA organization so that we could be more inclusive of everyone and everyone's background and everything else. So we have now over 170,000 members nationwide and almost 13,000 here in Pennsylvania, and we offer so many different opportunities for public speaking and all different kinds of skills that kids want to learn for future careers and future endeavors.
So give me a little more detail on those type of opportunities that you have.
So the different types of opportunities, so we have everything from career development events to leadership development events. So public speaking is a huge one that I was involved in high school. So my freshman year, I started doing the creed and I placed second, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is so awesome. So I continued with public speaking throughout my entire high school career, but there's so much more than just that. We have everything from veterinary skills to ag issues, which was here this past week, and we had a lot of teams compete in that, and I've never competed in it, but it seems really cool. And there's just so many different things and so many different aspects of FFA that is involved in ag and some that are not.
I had the opportunity to sit in on one of those presentations earlier today where they were talking about sterilization and important techniques that you have to use when you're caring for animals. And I was really impressed to see what some of your fellow students and colleagues were teaching and displaying through that presentation. So it seems like a worthwhile program. Now, as the state chaplain, what are some of your responsibilities at the state level?
So some of my responsibilities, if a student or a member comes up to me and asks what about what I do, I always tell them, I'm here. If you have any questions, I will help you with your spiritual guidance, or if you have any other questions about that. But in Pennsylvania, our titles are not 100% feasible, I guess I want to say. So I am very religious, but some of us are not on our team, and that what makes us so diverse, and it's such a great thing to have. But we have a time of reflection when we have our opening ceremony. So if you are not really religious, we have a time of reflection for you to reflect on what you are involved in.
Now, you have been holding your position, I believe, since midsummer, and so you're coming up on the second half of your term of office. What are some things you'd like to accomplish or you're looking forward to before you kind of hand over this position to the next in line?
So a couple of events that we have coming up is our ACES conference in February. It's a 3-weekend conference, and this is when most of our members attend. Over the course of 3 weekends, we have different workshops. We have a volunteer day that we have, and we just do so many different things, and it's such a great experience. And then in March, we have our State Legislative Leadership Conference, also known as SLLC, and it's a 3-day conference, and we have a big thing about advocating this year because we're trying to revamp that entire conference. We are still including different things about the whole legislative process, but we're trying to make it more advocate related to agriculture and to FFA. And then after that is our summer convention, which is where me and the rest of my team will retire, and all the other teams in the state will compete, and first place, second place will go to the Big E or to the National FFA Convention in October. So it's really exciting, all the different things that are coming up, and we couldn't be more thrilled.
Well, Mackenzie, thank you so much for joining us here at the 104th Pennsylvania Farm Show and for telling us a little bit more about FFA.
I want to thank you for joining us on this episode of Commonalities, where we talked about the 107th Farm Show, which runs January 7th through the 14th. The theme this year is Rooted in Progress. If you have a chance to get out to Harrisburg, do so before the 14th and see the amazing things that are happening at this year's farm show.
This has been Commonalities, a show where guests find common ground through uncommon conversations. Copyright 2022 Coordinated 360. All public rebroadcasts should be done with prior written approval from Matthew Dowling. All requests should be sent to info@coordinated360.com. Thank you for listening to Commonalities.